The moment the camera started rolling, it became clear that this episode of 90 Day Fiancé, before the 90 days, wasn't just another messy love story. It was something far stranger, a tangled web of romance, jealousy, and choices so shocking that even longtime fans were left asking the same question: how many people can truly fit inside one relationship before everything explodes? Before we dive into this chaos, make sure you're subscribed to Talent Zone updates, because stories like this only get wilder the deeper you go, and trust me, by the end of this one, you'll understand why viewers across America couldn't stop talking about it. The episode opens with Laura, a woman who seems completely comfortable living in the eye of emotional storms. For Laura, love isn't simple. It's layered, complicated, and sometimes dangerously unpredictable. Her relationship with Beeron was already raising eyebrows among fans.
Don't forget to subscribe for more tea. Now let's get back to the drama.
But what makes things truly explosive is the way Laura openly embraces the tension of a love triangle. At first glance, Laura appears confident, even playful about it. She laughs off the awkward moments and brushes aside concerns that most people would see as obvious red flags. But the more the cameras linger on her expressions, the clearer it becomes that beneath that confident exterior lies something deeper, a need for attention, validation, and excitement that traditional relationships simply don't provide. Beeron, meanwhile, looks like a man slowly realizing he may have stepped into something far more complicated than he expected. When he first connected with Laura, the chemistry seemed real. But now, with another person hovering around their relationship like a shadow, Beeron's patience is beginning to wear thin. The tension between them grows during a conversation that starts casually but quickly turns uncomfortable. Laura insists she's simply being honest about her feelings. She argues that modern relationships don't have to follow old rules. But Beeron sees it differently. To him, love means loyalty, focus, and commitment to one partner. And that's when the first cracks begin to show. Laura insists that people should be free to love however they want. Beeron, however, can't shake the feeling that he's being asked to accept something he never signed up for. The more they talk, the clearer it becomes that they may not be speaking the same emotional language at all. Just when you think their story couldn't get more complicated, the episode shifts to another couple with a completely different, but equally dramatic, dynamic. Annalin and Javon. If Laura's story represents modern chaos, Javon's vision of love represents something much more traditional. In fact, he's very clear about what he wants: a trad wife. For some viewers, the phrase alone was enough to spark debate online. Javon doesn't hide his expectations. He wants a partner who embraces traditional roles, someone who values home life, loyalty, and a lifestyle that many people feel belongs to another era. At first, Annalin seems intrigued by the idea. There's a certain charm in Javon's confidence and clarity about what he wants. But as their conversations continue, subtle discomfort begins creeping into the relationship. Because wanting a traditional partner is one thing, actually living that life is something very different. Javon describes the kind of future he imagines: a peaceful household, clear roles, and a partner who supports him by focusing on family and home. For him, this isn't controlling, it's simply the structure he believes leads to stability. But Annalin begins to wonder whether she's truly ready for that kind of commitment. She's independent, strong-willed, and used to making her own decisions. The more Javon talks about the life he envisions, the more she realizes that fitting into that role might mean giving up pieces of herself she's not ready to sacrifice. Their conversations slowly shift from playful curiosity to something heavier. Viewers start noticing the hesitation in Annalin's voice. The way she pauses before responding. The way she smiles, but not quite convincingly. It's the kind of tension that reality TV thrives on, because everyone watching can sense what's coming next, a moment where one of them will have to decide whether love is worth changing who they are. But if those relationships seem complicated, nothing prepares viewers for what happens when the story shifts to Elise. Because Elise isn't navigating a love triangle. She's navigating something even more unexpected. A throuple. For those unfamiliar with the term, a throuple is a romantic relationship involving three people equally committed to each other. While the concept has gained more visibility in recent years, it's still something that sparks intense debate and curiosity. Elise, Joshua, and Chris have created a dynamic that challenges almost every traditional idea about relationships. At first, they present themselves as surprisingly calm and balanced. They laugh together, talk openly, and insist that their relationship works because communication is their top priority. But reality TV has a way of testing even the strongest claims. As the episode unfolds, the cracks begin to appear. Joshua and Chris both care deeply about Elise, but emotions don't always divide neatly between three people. Moments of subtle jealousy start creeping in, small glances, awkward silences, and conversations that feel just a little too careful. It becomes clear that maintaining equality in a throuple is far more complicated than it sounds. One dinner scene becomes particularly uncomfortable. Elise tries to reassure both men that she loves them equally, but the statement lands awkwardly. Because even if the intention is honest, the reality of human emotions rarely follows mathematical balance. Someone always feels slightly left out. Someone always wonders if they're truly the favorite. And those doubts can slowly turn into something much more dangerous. While Elise insists that their relationship works because everyone agreed to the arrangement, the audience can't help noticing the tension growing beneath the surface. A look here, a quiet disagreement there, a conversation that suddenly ends when the cameras get too close. But just when viewers think they've seen the most shocking dynamics of the episode, another storyline quietly begins unfolding. Trish and Nick. At first, their situation seems less dramatic than the others. But sometimes the most surprising twists come from the relationships that look stable on the surface. Their conversations feel calm, almost too calm. Because beneath the polite smiles and careful words lies a deeper question neither of them seems ready to say out loud. Are they truly happy, or simply afraid to admit they're not? As the episode moves toward its final moments, the tension across all these relationships starts building toward something bigger. Laura continues defending her love triangle, insisting that honesty makes everything okay. Beeron, however, looks increasingly unsure about whether honesty alone can fix emotional confusion. Annalin faces a growing dilemma as Javon doubles down on his vision of a traditional partnership. And Elise's throuple dynamic begins revealing subtle signs that even the most unconventional relationships must eventually confront the same human emotions: jealousy, insecurity, and fear. But the biggest twist comes when one quiet conversation suddenly reframes everything viewers thought they understood. In a moment that feels almost casual, someone admits something unexpected. Not everyone in these relationships truly believed the arrangement would last. For some of them, the unconventional setups weren't just about love. They were experiments, tests, attempts to see if feelings were strong enough to overcome structures that most people believe simply don't work. And suddenly, the audience realizes something unsettling. Many of these relationships were never as stable as they appeared. They were fragile from the very beginning. People hoping love would somehow rewrite the rules of human nature. Some couples might find a way forward. Others might walk away. But one thing becomes painfully clear by the end of the episode. Love may evolve with the times, but the emotions that drive it, jealousy, insecurity, longing, and trust, haven't changed at all. And sometimes, the more people involved in a relationship, the more complicated those emotions become. By the time the credits roll, fans are left replaying the episode in their minds, wondering which of these couples will survive the chaos, and which ones were doomed from the start. Because when love triangles become squares, and traditional dreams collide with modern expectations, the real question isn't whether relationships can work. It's whether the people inside them truly understand what they're risking. And that leaves one question hanging in the air long after the episode ends. If love keeps evolving into more complicated forms, are we becoming better at relationships, or simply finding new ways to break our own hearts?
What do you think? Comment below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.